In 9 AD, 3 Roman legions marched into a German forest. 15,000 soldiers, Rome's finest warriors. They never came out. Not one. Not a single survivor. The Roman commander, Publius Varus, trusted a man who called himself Rome's friend. That man was secretly planning the greatest ambush in history. 3 days of slaughter in the darkness of the Teutoburg Forest. When news reached Rome, Emperor Augustus ran through his palace, screaming the same words over and over again. "Varus, give me back my legions!" This is that story.
To understand this disaster, we must understand one man. His name was Arminius. He was a German warrior, born around 18 BC in the Germanic tribe called the Cherusci. When he was a young boy, Rome conquered his people and took him. Arminius was brought to Rome as a hostage. He was trained as a Roman soldier. He learned Roman tactics, Roman strategy, Roman weaknesses. He rose through the ranks. He even became a Roman citizen. Rome trusted him completely. They gave him command of German auxiliary forces. Rome looked at Arminius and saw a loyal ally. Arminius looked at Rome and saw everything he needed to destroy it. He secretly contacted the German tribes, one by one, in silence. He told them, "Rome is not your master. Rome is your enemy, and I know exactly how to defeat them." The tribes listened. They trained in secret. They waited. And they chose the perfect location. A narrow
September 9 AD. Roman governor Publius Varus received a message. A small Germanic tribe had rebelled nearby. Nothing serious. Arminius himself delivered the message. Smiling, helpful, loyal. Varus trusted him completely. He ordered his 3 legions to march, 17 through 19. The pride of Rome. 15,000 soldiers, plus thousands more servants, families, and supply wagons. They entered the Teutoburg Forest, and immediately, things felt wrong. The path narrowed. The trees pressed closer. The sky disappeared above them. The column stretched for over 15 kilometers. 15 kilometers of Romans, packed into a path barely wide enough for 2 men. Then, it started raining. Heavy Germanic autumn rain. The ground turned to mud. Shields became heavy with water. Bowstrings went slack. Roman formations, designed for open, flat ground, were useless in this narrow, mud-soaked corridor. Arminius excused himself from Varus. He said he needed to coordinate allied troops nearby. Varus smiled and nodded. Arminius rode into the forest and vanished.
The signal went out, and the forest came alive. From every tree, from behind every rock, from the swamp on one side, from the ridge on the other, thousands of Germanic warriors appeared, all at once, screaming. The Romans had no warning, no time to form up, no space to use their tactics. They were hit from above with spears and rocks, hit from the sides with swords and axes. The narrow path became a killing ground. Romans at the front were cut down. Romans in the middle could not reach the enemy. Romans at the back were surrounded. For 3 days, the slaughter continued. Day 1, the Romans tried to fight back. They failed. They had no room. Day 2, they tried to break out. Germanic warriors were waiting on every path. Day 3, the survivors made one last desperate charge. Arminius had prepared for this too. A fortified wall of logs and earth, built.
When the news reached Rome, the entire city fell silent. Then, panic. 3 entire legions were gone. Not defeated. Not retreating. Gone. Erased. The numbers 17, 18, and 19 were never used again by Rome. For the rest of Roman history, those numbers were cursed. Emperor Augustus, the most powerful man on earth, ran through his palace. Not walking, running, slamming his head against the walls, screaming the same 4 words. Varus, give me back my legions. Historians recorded that Augustus could not eat, could not sleep, could not stop grieving for months. Rome had lost before, but always come back stronger. This time was different. This was not a loss. This was a message. The message said, cross the Rhine River and you will die. And Rome listened. For the first time in its history, Rome stopped expanding. The Rhine River became the permanent border of the Roman Empire. Everything east of the Rhine stayed Germanic. Because of 3 days, in one forest, with one man, who called himself Rome's friend.
Arminius never attacked Rome again. He returned to Germania and continued fighting against Roman incursions. He was eventually killed, not by Rome, but by members of his own tribe who feared his growing power. He was around 37 years old. But what he accomplished changed history forever. Think about this. If those 3 legions had survived, Rome would have continued expanding east. The Germanic tribes would have been conquered, Romanized, just like Britain, just like Gaul, just like Spain. The entire history of Germany, the history of Europe, the history of the world would be different today. The German language might not exist. German culture might not exist. One ambush, 3 days, one man changed everything. The Roman writer Tacitus wrote that Arminius was the liberator of Germany. Napoleon studied this battle. Washington studied this battle. Military academies around the world still study this battle today, over 2,000 years later, because it proved one thing. Numbers do not win wars. Intelligence wins wars. Knowing your enemy better than they know themselves. That is the only weapon that truly matters. 3 legions, 15,000 soldiers, 3 days, one man. The Roman Empire never recovered from this loss, and the world we live in today was shaped by what happened in that forest. Subscribe to History of Shadows, because history is full of moments like this, moments that changed everything. Every empire has a story. Every war has a secret.